Tremaine Mendonça, Chapter 8, Segment 4. Researchers at Work. Rats were placed in a maze and they were told to wander around until they could find the correct route to the goal box. That is an example of latent learning. That is learning that occurs without being immediately apparent and often without reinforcement. It does not disprove the importance of reinforcement in learning, but it shows that learning can occur without a teacher. You can observe a lot by watching. That was a quote from Yogi Berra. We can learn a lot from just watching. And that is called observational learning. It is learning that occurs when one individual imitates the behavior of another individual. Examples found in the textbook were Dipsy seeing Tulip lick dirty dishes before putting them in the dishwasher and later copying or modeling Tulip's behavior. And modeling is just imitation of someone else's behavior. Japanese snow monkeys dipping their yams in first fresh water and then in seawater. England birds, the blue tits, learning to open tinfoil tops of milk bottles in order to take the cream. And the most famous observational learning of birds is singing. And male birds sing to attract the mates, and they have different dialects. Social learning profoundly shapes from human behavior. Children need to play, and so do animals. One type of play is rough and tumble play. And that is running, screaming, wrestling, all those sorts of things kids do on playgrounds and whatnot. Now, males tend to engage in this type of play more, like humans, monkeys, and rats. And when males enter a group of females, the females will then engage in rough and tumble play. But otherwise, males are the ones that tend to engage in that type. Now, rough and tumble play influences adult behavior. For male rats, if they don't have a chance to play, they have a reduced sexual arousal when they're adults. And animals, such as chimps and humans, without a chance to play or be social, grow up socially inept. Social learning changes behavior brought about by interacting with other individuals. Bobo doll studies, a set of social modeling experiments conducted by Albert Bandura. The Bobo doll was an inflatable clown doll with a heavy bottom to allow it to bounce back if it was hit. So the experiment consisted of children being placed in a room of toys and the Bobo doll, where they would see an adult battering the doll. So that when the kids were then placed in a room alone, they tended to treat the Bobo doll aggressively as the doll they had watched previously had done. And found out that boys were more aggressive than girls. The 4 criteria needed to model behavior is, first of all, the person must be paying attention to the model's behavior. Second, the person must retain the information gained about the observed behavior. Third, the person must reproduce the behavior and make it progressively better at imitating the behavior with practice. And fourth, the person must be motivated to reproduce the model's behavior. Social monitoring and social referencing refers to when an individual observes the consequences of someone else's behavior to guide their own behavior. And this correlates with the story of little Albert. So people or scientists were wondering that if little Albert looked up at Watson's face to see Watson's reaction towards a white fluffy rabbit, would his fear have changed? So if Watson's face showed happiness or calmness when in the presence of the rabbit, would Albert have the rational fear? Or did Watson make his face look scared and terrified, further making little Albert fear the fluffy white rabbits? Sometimes insight plays a role in learning. Insight. It is a sudden understanding of a problem that leads to a solution without having to resort to trial and error. Those are the eureka and aha moments. Wolfgang Kohler, that he had the experiment with chimpanzees and bananas. So bananas were hung above the chimps, and the chimps were used toys lying about to knock down the bananas. Whatever happened to little Albert? Arvia Merritt, a host mother, had a son, Douglas, who may have been little Albert. But Douglas had a mental disorder called hydrocephalus, in which improper fluid circulation caused the swelling of the brain. So if Watson had performed experiments on Douglas, and he knew that he had a mental disorder, then he would be, even more disliked than he is now for his unethical experiment. But Douglas had continued health problems and he eventually died at age 6. Another host mother was then discovered, and she had a son named William Barger, whose nickname was Albert. And he died at age 87 before researchers could question him. But when researchers went to his family, the family claimed that he was scared of dogs and he never had pets, which could lead to him being little Albert if he was scared of fluffy things all throughout his life. But no one really knows for certain. And what makes you so smart? Glial cells in the brain are well adapted for learning, which may aid in development of human brains.